Michael?
Thank you. My way of introducing myself, because not many of you know me. I've sat on the board of the Rhode Island Trade Association for 21 years. I was president for 2 terms. I sit on the state yachting committee. The governor appointed me to the America's Cup committee, trying to bring the America's Cup back, and if anybody wants to ask questions after this meeting,
Oh, did you get it yet?
we're working on it. It won't be a 6-year fight, by the way. I sit on the board of Clean the Bay, which is cleaning the shore of Narragansett Bay and Malibu Bay. I sit on the Save the Bay Leadership Council. I won the Alfred Hawks Award in 1991, the highest environmental award in the state. One of my proudest achievements. I'm a sailor. I was a professional captain for 10 years. I've been around the world twice. I've sailed in waters that have LNG facilities and wind farms, and I can tell you that in some places it works. I currently operate one of the largest marinas in the state, Barrington, Rhode Island. I'm the farthest guy from home. Those who know me would not describe me as a tree hugger or an alarmist, but I'm alarmed by this whole thing. How many in this room are voters? The reason I ask that is because, I'm sorry. The reason I ask you that is Rhode Island hosts, now these are sailing regattas, over 71 regattas, many of them national events, a lot of regional and international events, which is an incredible generator of revenue for the state, and the amount of money that's spent in hotels, restaurants, our supermarkets, and our gas stations, not Hess, but our other gas stations. And often the bay looks like what you see in that photo there. That was taken in 04. It was a 25th anniversary regatta for J24s. 25th anniversary for J24s. There were over 200 boats competing. That happens to be on the west side of Jamestown, so it isn't, but that occurs every weekend. And some weekdays, sometimes long events on the other side of the bay. There was an optimist regatta. To describe what an optimist is, I was asked by the Senate panel what an optimist was, because I said, when there are 400 of these things in the path of an LNG tanker, what's going to happen? And I said, well, these optimists are basically 7 feet long, and they have kids in them that range in age from 7 to 14. They don't have engines, they don't have radios, and the kids sometimes aren't great sailors. So I have some low-resolution photos, which we got to mature those and make them work, because they show these 400 opties from a vantage point above Newport Bridge, right on the path that the LNG tanker will be coming. Now, this guy isn't announcing that he's coming. He's just coming. And there's no stopping him. He's got a schedule to keep. So the race organizers find out a brief time before it shows up, and they have to clear the race course. And Hess hasn't made it clear, Weaver Cove Energy hasn't made it clear how they're going to provide the security blanket around the ship. I've seen the security blanket around the LPG ships that come up, and currently they're Coast Guard, but they're converting that to private firms such as Blackwater. And I can just see it, the guys with hobnob boots, machine guns, and they perceive these little opties that won't get out of the way as a tack optie. Well, it just doesn't work that way. And if it's a day with not a whole lot of wind, they can't get out of the way. So what happens in that circumstance? I worry about the safety of our kids. I worry about, well, one thing I know, with these 71 events, the national and international events here, they consider various places to go. And they wouldn't choose to come here. The revenue from the Bermuda race alone, I did a study that was done last month on the Bermuda race revenues, which is a race every 3 years. The revenues in Rhode Island are $3 million just from that event. So Weaver Cove says that 70 trips, 140 trips, they're only going to do it at nighttime. We know that, I just think it's shameful lies. You know, you just can't, the prize must be so big to compel you to lie that way. And I think it's shameful, and we shouldn't put up with it. They say they're creating jobs. Well, I can guarantee you that at least 500 jobs in the marine industry will be lost. It's a precarious industry and hurt really hard in these economic times. But this will hurt it more, and it's not a good thing. Sale Newport, which is on part of Fort Adams property, is a public sailing facility. They operate sailing lessons. They go right outside of Newport Harbor, and they've got people who aren't great sailors that are tutoring them. But I can't imagine how they're going to handle the LNG shows. The harbors of Newport, Jamestown, and Bristol will be closed, as well as all the facilities up and down the west side of the Quinnipiac Island. And the impact of that, of people trying to recreate and having to stay in Newport for 2 hours while the ship transits, I think it's just, well, as I said to the Senate committee, here we are again, downstream of Massachusetts. And Massachusetts said we want it, but they're shoving it down our throats. In this case, it's a private entity taking our jobs and ruining our wonderful day that is one of the most special. By the way, I'm originally from Maryland. I've sailed by the LNG facility there. It's not a problem. It's a very different situation. Chesapeake Bay is 10 times wider than Narragansett Bay. You go around it. I did a race going down past it, and it wasn't a problem. So it can be done. It shouldn't be done here. It should be done anywhere in Narragansett Bay. And I'm going to keep my presentation brief, and they're all available for questions.
Maybe before, just again, a couple comments. I think we touched a little bit upon the security concerns, the environment concerns, the economic concerns, and I think through that you've also heard a little bit about what I call the socioeconomic concerns, the intangibles, costs that Rhode Islanders would pay. I talk about kayaking in my bay, obviously just enjoying a boat, although the economy around the marine trade industry is incredible here. But you know, you think of the closing of the bridges. I mean, Quinnipiac Island did a great job through their planning commission, laying out a number of different things. Ocean liners coming into Newport, and whether or not they would come anymore was one of the many considerations, never mind a host of other development and the jobs associated with that type of work. But then the basics, you know, and you can picture them. I mean, a child at school in Newport who's fine and healthy, but expects to be picked up, and you can't get across the bridge for an hour, or 25 minutes, or whatever it is. Now make it more extreme, but real, potentially, getting to the hospital. All right, maybe you go to Kent County, Westfield. Those are things that you in this community would understand a little bit better, but when you start to look at these different points that are made and the implications of these changes, there's a separate kind of quality of life issue that we're giving up to essentially allow these super tankers in solely to access a point that's closest to a piping system so they can make the most money. And, you know, again, the nicest part of this discussion as it is evolved for me has been when other industry have come in to say, we have another option. There is a better way to bring LNG in. And, you know, the option to call it, that's why I said shameful to better word it. You know, the suggestion that this is an offshore facility. And the other thing that comes to mind, and I touched upon a little bit with Boston. Boston, I thought was, you know, I just wasn't thinking properly of the harbor, and I don't know if you have. I think of little old Rhode Island, but it's 6 miles and it's wide open to the ocean.